some basic questions now. So can you please state your name and what degree you study?
So my name is Amir, A-M-I-R, and I'm in the third year of civil engineering at that day is very important, the University of Sydney.
Okay.
You know how university says the University of Sydney?
Yes. And can you say a fun fact about yourself?
A fun fact. So I can make you laugh, and probably I'm going to dance better than you.
Sounds like a challenge. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Are you in a political party or campus faction?
So let me ask another question from you. You mean for myself or for the students?
You yourself, are you part of one?
Okay. For myself, I'd say somehow a bit towards Labour, yeah. But for USU and for students, independent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why are you interested in running for board?
Okay. So basically, I'm in the third year. In the past 30 years, I've analyzed like over 100 critical gaps that are presented at university. That none of them have been solved, or if they have been solved not properly. Also, apart from that, we need to sort of boost the university to the level that it hasn't been reached in the USU's history. So that's my main sort of vision. I've got other goals as well, which I'm pretty sure that's going to be for the next question or next questions.
You've assumed right. We'll definitely get to your policies. So the last of the basic questions is, how would you describe the role of a board director?
So basically, the role of a board director, first of all, for USU is that I'm going to call them a transmitter. So they act like a transmitter, really. So we've got students, they've got their goals, they've got their ideas, and it's very hard to transmit their ideas to the university board. And I mean people who actually decide. So we need a person as a director, as a president, or whoever you want to call, to transmit that. So that person, the first thing that they need to have is to have a good ear. They need to hear what students want, and they need to transfer that and actually implement. So hearing is not actually enough. They need to actually implement it. Yeah, implementing that properly. Apart from that, they need to have some certain skills like leadership, the way that, for example, they're going to manage risk management and those critical skills.
Okay, well said. Now to the more important questions. What are 3 of your favorite policies and why?
My 3 policies, the first one is events and societies. I'm going to talk about that more. The second one is about the whole infrastructure of university. And the third one is about support. Okay, so the first one was events and societies. What do I mean by that? Basically, we need to have more societies and clubs and events that are about students. I'm pretty sure that all the students pay SSFA, yeah? And most of them are like, what is that? They have no idea that what is that for, and for most of them, it's like waste of money, yeah? So basically, we need to make that SSFA meaningful. At the moment, students are paying, and then nothing happens, yeah? So they've got ideas, but university doesn't do anything about that. We need to make that SSFA meaningful. How? For example, every 2 weeks or like every month, we can have like a poll that students will say their ideas, and after we're going to implement that in the next month. For example, that can be like an event or like adding a new club or societies. So that's one of them. Also, we need to add, like this year, we can add 100 new societies, yeah, which we haven't had before. And other thing is collaborating between the societies. When the societies collaborate, the students will engage with other cultures, other societies. They will exchange their interests, and it will improve the sort of self-development, and basically it will improve the happiness. So this year, from 250, our aim is to reach 350 by adding 100 new crops. Yes. In terms of infrastructure, so for the food, I know that some foods are good, but we need to add, again, variety of other foods for different tastes. Again, we can add, like, my goal is to add new 100 different food, some like making like a Broadway, like everything that you want, you can find, plus free delivery across the campus done by USU. So this goes to the financial part, but I've analyzed and I know that it is somehow possible. And the study spaces needs to be increased, and in terms of the facilities, also definitely we've all seen those broken like microwaves for like 2 weeks, 1 month in Fisher or other places that's need to be fixed by USU. So like all those things needs to be okay. And for the women, sanitary items like yourself, sanitary items and sanitation is not in a good level at Sydney University. So that needs to be improved. And now for the third goal, which was support, we're going to have mental support, health support for the students, because I know that's in average 35% of the students have anxiety, depression, and like problems due to their relationship, which is very hard. I'm single myself. I haven't experienced, but I know that it's very hard. So basically we need to have support for them. And also we can have like encourage them to like dating things, those sort of things. We support them to even find their partner, those sort of things. And also for the job, we need to double or triple the number of students who find a professional job. Yes.
Just a follow-up question with the mental health and support. Would you offer it to people that are single?
No, that me was an example. So for example, I can be lucky, like after this interview, I can date with someone, yeah? But that means for everyone. So if you're single, you can be engaged, or you can be single again if you want. And basically for all the interests, someone has a breakup, they can recover, yeah? Also like different, let's say different types of people with different interests. So we're going to include all of them.
Okay,
that was just an example. Dating is just one of them. We've got several. As I said, there are 100 gaps.
Mm-hmm. Okay, beautiful. So the USU is currently facing unprecedented financial stress due to the loss of revenue related to COVID-19. If you had to, what would you cut from the USU's current operations? How do you think the USU should economize?
Okay. So in 2018, USU lost 500,000, 2018. That everything was okay at that time. Now we have coronavirus, yeah? So the loss will even be more than that. So we need to prioritize the expenses of USU. The majority of the like operation costs goes to Incubate, which is an ISL. It's a fancy, very nice building, but for the minority of the students. So I know that startups goes there. I was a member of that, the Incubate, but it is for the minority of students with that interest, yeah? Also, at the same time, like USU sort of spends millions for Incubate, yeah? But Incubate has a lot of partners outside of university who give fund to Incubate, like millions. So we need to cut from Incubate and invest more on the student life and those aspects.
Okay. And what is one thing that you think the USU has done well during your time at university?
There are a couple, yeah. But if I want to just say one, actually I've noted here, So basically the food quality was improved, sort of, yeah, according to like 3 years ago that I was here. Also, some of the buildings got renovated. You can see that in Wentworth, yeah. I love that one. Apart from that, I like the free access. That was a good move because it increased the number of students who engage with USU. And it is a win-win for like USU and the students at the same time. That was a good move, yeah. Also for the Pulp, you know yourself that they're not going to be like on a paper and those sort of things. So it is environmentally sustainable.
Yeah, definitely. So then what is one thing that you think the USU has done poorly during your time at uni? I'm sure you can draw on one of your 100 holes in the USU's policies.
Yeah, exactly. So the things that USU did poorly was the risk management. What is that for? Again, going back to the thing that I said in 2018 and 19, like USU lost a lot of money, nearly $500,000. And that was in total. About $600,000 was only because of impairment due to the wrong like CRM Salesforce that they use for managing like the clients and they like university. So that cost for like 600,000. Yeah. So that's a risk management factor they haven't considered, or if they have, they considered poorly. And that's why they had a big loss in 2018. So, and 2019, followed by 2019. That needs to be considered.
Okay. So next question. How political do you think the USU should be? Should it make statements on current political issues affecting students' lives? And should it provide a platform for students' political beliefs?
You said students, and USU is for students. Yeah. So yes, yeah. I mean, we need to appreciate the ideas of students. Those who are like they like politics. Yeah, we need to sort of respect them, their ideas, and do the best to sort of like implement their ideas. But in terms of the thing that you asked, whether USU needs to be political or not, as I talked like in my interview with Honey, I said that it was like 99% it's about non-political things, 1% is about political stuff. So basically, yeah, why not? They can be political, but for 1%, because for the majority of students, that political aspect of USU cannot improve the students' life at university. But for example, SRC, yes, I would say definitely they need to be political, because SRC and politics is like this. But USC and politics is not like this that much.
Can you give an example of what that 1% of political agenda or statement would look like for the USU?
Yeah, exactly. So one of them is basically the decisions that made by the government, yeah, the political decisions. Something like the moment that we are living now. So USU has shut down all those things, all the shops, all the stores, basically all the operation. So that's more about the politics and the decisions about the politics. Yeah. Also for the graduation, I know that they're going to be like some differences. So basically they all depend on the decisions made by the government. But in total, if you walk from Redfern to Quadrangle, as you can see in the USU, most of it is not political.
Okay. So one controversial decision that the USU made was to follow the registration of life choice and anti-abortion groups as a club. So many people oppose this on campus based on the basis of its potential impacts on students who have had an abortion. What's your position on how the USU should approach controversial clubs and societies?
What was the name of that club again?
The club, I think it's called Life Choice, and it's an anti-abortion group.
Anti what?
Anti-abortion.
Abortion?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Abortion is when you're pregnant and you have to go and terminate the child or the fetus.
Okay, so USU, you mean, was supporting them?
They've allowed it to become a club.
Okay, cool. So what was the question? Do I support or what?
The question essentially is, what is your position on how the USU should approach controversial clubs and societies like this one?
Again, I would say that basically to register a club, we need to analyze different things. So we need to analyze the idea in different aspects. Here is the idea. We need to say, okay, how many students have this idea? What's the impact on the students? Yes. And what are the drawbacks on the students? Yes. For example, the club that you just mentioned, yeah, okay, you call it controversial, yeah? But at the same time, they're going to have some impact on the students. Maybe not now, but in the future. Yeah. So it depends on how you look. Yeah. If obviously, if they like advantage is more than disadvantage, yeah, that club can possibly be registered if like the students want that.
Right. So would you say that you would prioritize what the majority of students want compared to the minority of students?
No. Again, as I said, it's all the students, yeah? So basically we need sort of their ideas, but obviously not the majority of students, because the majority is not the minority, yeah? That's why I said we need to add another 100 clubs, because that 250 clubs, most of them is based on the majority.
Okay. So next question. Board directors have a fiduciary duty to the USU, which means you have to put the board's interest above your own and can be sued for acting against its interests. If something egregiously bad was happening in the USU, would you consider leaking it? And if not, what would you do?
The wording of the question, I'm not sure what you asked, but are you saying that am I support with the idea which is against my idea? Is that what you're asking?
It's more if some level of corruption were happening within the USU, would you go against your fiduciary duty and leak that, or would you go about it some other way?
Okay, yeah. So I would say it depends on the corruption. For example, now I'm revealing the things that I'm pretty sure some of the universities, they don't want students to know. I'm basically telling the students that how much university lost last year. Yeah. And how much university gets from SSFA, which is 4 million. That was just for last year. Yeah. So it depends on the corruption. For example, some types of corruption is everywhere. I'm pretty sure even at university, there might be corruption. Yeah. I'm not sure about that one, what type, but corruption is something that we need to minimize. But unfortunately, in our daily to day life, there is corruption, even when I'm talking to you. Yeah. So we need to be transparent as much as possible with the students on the things that they happen. I mean, but obviously we need to know what's happening. So if we know what's happens, we need to be transparent with the students. Yeah.
So does that mean that you would prioritize leaking, or you would prioritize the fiduciary duty, or does it mean that it's a case-by-case basis?
Depends on, as I said, depends on the case. You can tell me one case, I can answer you if you
want. So do you think that the USU is doing enough to support international student communities?
USU is definitely enough if they want. Yes. Why do I say that? Like, according to their revenue and those sort of things, yeah, they can support domestic and international, anyone basically at university, but it depends on the priority, whether they want to support international, and if they want, which I'm pretty sure they want, like what's the ratio, or like how do they want to support? Yeah, definitely they can support, definitely they can support in a good way.
Do you think the board currently is doing enough to support international students?
Yes, they are doing their best, because as I said, some of the things that I mentioned, free access, yes, I would say that's like a win-win for international, USU, domestic students. Like domestic students and international, basically they're all in the same university. So it's like win for the students and USU. Also that like the renovation of 12 new buildings and those sort of things. Yeah, definitely say like supporting all the students, not just internationals.
Okay. And if elected as a board member, how will you ensure that student feedback is taken into consideration when making decisions? And how will you ensure that the USU caters to all University of Sydney students?
USU haters, you said?
No, the USU caters, sorry.
Oh, yeah. I thought you said haters.
Hang on, I'll ask it again just so we get it all. How will you ensure that the USU caters to all University of Sydney students?
Sure. Okay. So the first part was, sorry, I forgot the first part. Can you?
If you're elected a board member, how will you ensure that student feedback is taken into consideration?
Okay, yeah. I feel like I answered that question before. Basically, we can have like I'm going to call it like idea gathering, something like that. Idea box, for example, that can be run like every 2 weeks, like every month. Yes. In which like students will share the ideas. Yes. And then we can have like a rough idea that what students really want from university. And then we categorize those ideas, yes, and make that to simple, different ideas. And then we evaluate them in like based on many factors, like financial capacity of USU, the power of USU, those sort of things. And then we'll implement. And yeah, of course, USU can cater to all university.
Okay. Michael Spencer's replacement, what would you want the next Vice Chancellor to be or do or represent?
I'm not sure about the names that, for example, the next Vice Chancellor, I'd like, not sure about the name, but the person who basically wants to be a Chancellor, they need to act like a Chancellor. So if you search, basically they need to have certain skills. Their background is important. Their background in managing staff is very important. So I know that Michael, yes, Michael, he was very experienced. Yeah, he was the head of I feel like law. Yeah, he was the head of law at Oxford University. He came to here. He was very experienced for 12 years. He worked very hard, and definitely some things he did good things and bad things at the same time for university. So the person who wants to take this role with that responsibility, also that high salary, they need to be sort of very experienced in everything. Management, leadership, public speaking, relation with like other partners, other organizations, and risk management is the most. Yeah.
Okay. And how would you propose we reinvigorate campus culture?
Reinvigorate, you said?
Reinvigorate.
What does that mean?
Like re-energize. How would you say that we reboot or amp up campus culture?
Exactly. I already said that in my goals. So some of my goals will already energize like the whole thing, yeah. By adding like different things like the club and societies. Also that collaboration, I would say, between the students, between the clubs, between the societies, that will sort of energize the whole campus. Yeah. Also by having fun events, definitely that will they will become energized. For example, everyone liked that party at the beginning of every semester, right? You like yourself, yeah?
I've never been myself, but I've heard it's good.
Because, for example, this is me in the party, yeah? Dance battle. Yeah, I was dancing. I told you that, for example, I danced.
Yeah.
Everyone likes that. Also, apart from that, one of the interesting things I was thinking, was to not only collaborate within the university, but also getting ideas and sort of collaborate with some of the top world universities, such as Oxford. It is absolutely possible. I've started the negotiation with them to see, for example, what they are doing for their student life to improve that and how we can benefit from that. Also, how they can benefit from like the things that we are doing. So it's like a collaborating with their ideas to like boost the university, as I said, to the level that it hasn't reached in its history.
What sort of events have Oxford put on that you would want to bring to Sydney?
I've started the negotiation. Yeah. By that, I mean that we have started to put in the ideas to see what they are implementing. So there isn't any event that, for example, I can specifically say they have done in that way that we haven't done. So it's like idea, but that idea is from different perspectives.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then which of the candidates would you most like to work with who are currently running for board?
Yeah, okay. So I appreciate the similarity and the difference between the candidates. Like every candidate is unique in their own way, and that's something which we all need to respect. So basically, for example, if I want to work with someone and collaborate, I would definitely go with those with the same goals. Not the same, I mean very similar goals. Yeah, because that will just boost you, because you can work harder together because you've got the same mindset, and that mindset is very important. And also like those who care for the students, not for like other stuff, whether for example, let's say political thing. For example, if it was for SRC, as I said, it should be a bit political, but now it's all about students. So those with the same mindset and care about students.
Is there anyone specifically that's running that you would like to work with that you can name?
Yeah, for example, I've talked to some of the candidates, like nearly most of them, only one is left. The ones that we've got the same high similarity, and the same goals, nearly the same. Basically, they are caring for the students as well. I would say, like Nick, is good, yeah. Ben as well, like Eden. So basically, just to answer your question, I would say they other candidates. I spoke to them as well. They were great. Yeah, we've got similarities, we've got differences, but to work, I would say those.
Okay, and then which of the candidates would you least like to work with?
So basically, the ones that I haven't would be some of them, but to name some of them, I would say, for example, Prudence. We've got a lot of similarity. She's very experienced, and I spoke to her, but she's experienced more in SRC, I would say. Yes, but this is USU. So yeah, like as I said, that similarity is important to work with candidates.
And do you have or would you ever make any preference deals with any of the candidates?
Yes, why not? I'll do with those with similarity again. Because it will boost.
Alrighty. And then final question, what color will you be running under, and do you have a manager?
That should be the first question, I would say. Yeah, my color is black. My slogan is happy ending is here again. That's a nice slogan, yeah? Happy ending is here again. And I don't have a manager, and I don't see a need for a manager due to automation and basically softwares you can use. Yeah, there is no need.
Yeah, beautiful. Do any of the other editors have any follow-up questions?
I just got a couple. So just on the topic of, the USU sort of being political and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So Pulp asked in a USU board meeting recently whether the USU would be interested in joining the SRC in campaigning on the COVID-19 student housing rental campaign. And Connor Werrett said that this was not in the USU's interests to lobby the government. What do you think about this?
I would say USU can sort of contribute, yes. Because, well, I know a lot of actually my friends and those who are watching this interview, they might live on campus, for example, like, let's say, like, you know, the regiment and those places that offer university. So it's about university life. So USU can support that one, yeah. But again, it needs to be analyzed and it needs to be like on paper rather than me saying that yes or no, yeah. To see, for example, what are the advantages, yes, and if it's going to be actually like implemented. Because if they just, for example, if they come and, what do you call protest, you said? Strike, yeah? You said strike, yeah?
Yeah, those student
You can't
housing.
say strike, for example, like no rent, something like that. And if that doesn't happen, so it's like a lose, yeah? We need to do that at the same time with make that into reality. So that's how USU needs to work.
Okay, cool. And you mentioned that you wanted to double or even triple the number of students who are gaining professional employment. Do you have any strategies as how you would go about achieving that?
Definitely, yeah. So, you know, I'm not sure about the percentage, but I know that some of the students have difficulty with finding a professional job, like based on their major. So what we can do, we can sort of figure that out and help them to find professional jobs, like using their clubs and societies. Yeah, that means that I know something is done by the university, Sydney University, like workshop on how to find resume, how to write a resume, those sort of things. But they are pretty useless because you can basically find all of them on the internet. But the way that we apply is very important. Yes, which university doesn't really support. That's one. And finding a job is very important for the students, finding professional jobs. So the way that we're going to support is through the clubs and societies. We can even introduce a new club in that 100 extra clubs that I said to just help students find jobs. One club just for finding jobs.
Amazing. And so with your 100 clubs idea, why have you sort of chosen the 100 number? Where did that come from?
So 100 number, okay. This goes about psychology. 100 number is a number that you can memorize easily, yeah. Actually, in real life, it might go to 98 or 99 or 102, yeah. I said 100 because it's easy to memorize. At the same time, based on the capacity of the USU and their report, it is all possible to run all of these, and it's like a win-win. So students come, they register, they actually enjoy the club. If they want to find a job, they'll find their job. And it's a win for the USU because the student will get engaged and the USU revenue will boost in a way that students enjoy. That's very important.
Cool. And just with regards to, you mentioned about sort of creating a new Broadway with food outlets and stuff. How do you see that feasibly happening in terms of where would it go, and sort of would there be interest in having that amount of outlets when we do already have Broadway just down the road?
Exactly. I'm going to ask you a question. Would you go from walk from PNL to Broadway? No.
Depends what mood I'm in.
Most likely no. I can't see your face, but I would say no. No, just kidding. So basically that 100 doesn't mean concentrated in every single cafe across the university. Yes. But that 100 should be divided to, let's say, 20, 20, 20, 20, something like that across the campus. Yes. For the foods that students like, actually. Yeah. So it's more about the student ideas. So we try to cover like special foods from different culture. Yes. That might mean we sometimes need to introduce a new cafes or like renew other cafes and make them bigger to facilitate this much increase. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. And I just have one more question. So in terms of a couple of years ago, Tom Rowley was a board member on the USU, and there was a protest where the police were called by the USU, and he leaked that information to student media, and he was actually sued by the USU for doing that. So in terms of that sort of topic, if you were in that same situation, would you leak that information to student media, or would you try and find other ways to deal with that problem?
You said leak?
Yeah, leak. So like spread the information to the media.
Depends. Yeah. For example, if it was something happens for the student, yeah, you need, for example, if something bad happens to a student at university, we need to sort of tell that to the students to be careful about these risks on the campus. For example, you might walk at 1 a.m. Yeah, and for example, someone attacks you, yeah, and you call the police, okay? So these things needs to, we need to share that with the students so they can be more careful on the campus. Yeah, did I answer?
Yeah. And does anyone else have any other questions?
I just have a few questions about 100 societies.
Yeah.
So I remember you mentioned that you believe that USU has the capacity to run the ideal amount of societies. But throughout our interviews with other candidates, we've heard about a lot of complaints about like it always takes USU like a very long time to reply or to get in touch with USU. So how are you going to guarantee that after this increasing amount of societies, USU is going to stay efficient with the societies?
Okay, yeah. So basically by introducing different societies, we are introducing different, let's say, president for those societies, yeah? So those presidents are in charge of sort of answering any questions that students have. Because as you say that, you know, like USU wasn't capable to answer those questions regarding the clubs and societies. So the questions regarding every club and society will get asked in that club or society and will be answered by the members in that society. Yeah. For example, I'm the president of the Persian Society. If there is any question about, let's say, Persian society, I'll answer that. Yeah. So it's something more about the members in that society rather than the whole USU. But if the question is about the operation of the like whole USU, yeah, then USU will answer.
Okay. Thank you. I just have one more question. You mentioned that after this increasing amount of society numbers, there's going to be a boost in the revenue. How do you find the correlation between the revenue and the increasing amount of societies? Since USU's most income is from the SSAF fee and our outlets.
Exactly. Okay. So once you introduce something, basically the strategy is giving to get. Yes. You give something to get another thing, but you give something valuable to students. So by that, I mean, for example, so they are all interconnected. Let's say something like this. You know, the workshops are run by university. Each workshop costs a lot of money, yeah? Now, by introducing a club that, for example, helps students to find a job, yeah, will help students find a job without running those workshops that spends, like the university spends thousands for running those workshops. So we are saving here, yes? Also, every of this workshop, they can sort of have events, whether big or small, in which they can have students and basically, for example, for the services, students pay a little amount of fee, and that can be a revenue for the society and USU.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
No worries.
Awesome. I have two follow-up questions, and then I think we'll be done. This kind of piggybacks off of Josie's earlier question about a Broadway equivalent. Like I'm all for more food on campus. I love me, 2 lunches a day. But with Broadway, do you think that, considering the university is taking quite a massive financial hit with COVID-19 and will continue to do so even after we return to uni, do you think it's feasible that you'll be able to implement something the size and equivalent of Broadway? Maybe whether that just includes
that Broadway
or dining.
Definitely, it's not going to be a Broadway with four levels with the food court at the top.
Mm-hmm.
But that Broadway means the variety of tastes.
Right.
That represents that one. Yeah. So yes, universities they can do. Why? Because I'll give you an example. If there is a new food that you like, what is your favorite food, for example?
Oh, anything Mediterranean.
We have anything food here. Yeah. So this anything is made from a material that is like ingredient that is definitely less than the price. Yeah. I like this anything. I come, I buy this, I enjoy that anything. And then university will profit from the difference between the ingredient and the cost. So I enjoyed, I love that food that made my day. And also university, like USU, profited from that. Mm-hmm. So we introduce something and we profit from that.
Right.
And like students enjoy.
Would that involve creating new buildings though, or refurbishing ones we already have? Like, how would you implement that?
I feel like there is no need to introduce the buildings, like any new building. I feel like the actual cafes, they are capable of handling this increase, but we might need to sort of make some little changes to the cafes in terms of, for example, the places, make that a bit bigger or like smaller, depends.
Okay. So it's more like the menu variety and slightly increasing the capacity of the places. Okay, beautiful. And then my final question is, the board has adopted a culture, some would say, of going in camera, which basically means during their meetings, the media and the public aren't allowed to hear what happens.
I lost you, yeah?
Oh, sorry. So the board has fostered a sort of culture, some would argue, where they go in camera a lot, which means that the media and the public aren't allowed to know what goes on within that part of the meeting. Would you attempt to avoid going in camera if you were elected a board member?
USU, yeah? Okay, so I'm pretty sure that I forgot the clause of the regulation of the USU, but there were a clause that apparently we shouldn't go in front of camera, yeah? So, because I can't remember properly that one, but I'm pretty sure there is something that we need to sort of arrange or to see whether we can or not. So if we can, yeah, I would go. If you can't, no, I wouldn't, because it's about the regulations, which you can't really deny that. But yeah, if we can, yeah, we'll go, because it will sort of give a picture. For example, I can't see the picture of some of you, then it's very hard for me to communicate. But the camera will just make everything more powerful, the message and the connection between their audience and, like, let's say, the board members.
Right. And then what about transparency? I know you touched on this before. Would you prioritize the board's decisions and minutes in the meetings, etc., remaining private, or would you prefer for it to be more transparent compared to what it has been?
In general, transparent, yeah. I mean, in general, like the general things that has performed in those meetings, I feel like should be transparent, yeah. But the general thing, but the actual decisions, the small part, the specific parts, I feel like it should be in the board, not being transparent, yeah. And at the end of the day, we can surprise students with that. For example, if I say I'm going to introduce like these specific things, and if I share that, students won't get surprised.
Why do you think students should be surprised by what their board is doing?
Because we already shared what we're going to do in terms of what. Because they already heard, so they're not going to be surprised, yeah?
Right. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Just one tiny little thing. So just to triple confirm, you're not a member of any campus factions or of a political party?
For the fourth compa, not triple, I'm going to say no, I'm not.
So, no, okay, cool. Thank you.
Sure,
Awesome.
Josie or Vina. Why not? Ah, Josie, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Well, if nobody else has any other questions, I think that we're all done. So thank you so much for participating. This has been great.
Thanks for having me here.